There, that's much better. Sometimes stuff just doesn't like to work. Good morning, Pulaski County. Doug Fowler here from Pulaski Talks with Jack and Zoe in the newsroom. How is everybody doing this morning? I hope everybody's doing fine. I got a little echo on my microphone and I can't figure that, but we're just going to have to deal with that. We're in the newsroom. Good morning. And our top story this morning, after months of investigative research by Jack and Zoe, we can now confirm what is known. Long suspected, but now we know. Cats are and have always been in charge. Humans, it turns out, were in middle management. Is this what you guys wrote? I can barely read it. Humans, it turns out, that seems kind of shifty, were middle management. Yeah. We open the doors, we operate the can opener, we pay what experts are calling rent. According to my notes here from Jack calls it, quote, the least surprising scoop of the year. We need to get better. You guys can do better. You don't do nothing but lay around all day. Let's see what else you got for the news crew. World news. Turning to world news, an international summit concluded ahead of schedule today. This is Saturday. I assume we're late. You guys were napping a lot yesterday. It was concluded ahead of schedule today after every delegate without coordination fell asleep. Zoe, this doesn't sound truthful. In the same patch of warm sunlight. Yeah, I can relate. That is comforting. Officials are hailing it as one of the most productive sessions in years. I don't know about that. Well, yeah, I can. One diplomat reportedly declared world peace and then immediately requested to be left alone. The communique, how can you spell that? We're told was a single satisfied blank. That we can relate to around here. You guys are camera shy now? After you give me this to work with, this is all I got. Let's see what's next. Of course, nothing wants to work when it's supposed to. To the markets. Here we go. This is something interesting people may be interested in learning about. If you have any questions, post them to the comments while I'm thinking about it, and I'll let Jack and Zoe know. And if they're so inclined to grant us time on their calendar to answer the questions, we'll pass it along. Cat food futures. What's this about? Surge today on the unconfirmed rumors of, and I'm reading exactly as written here, the food pate, the good pate. It's like hors d'oeuvres, hors d'oeuvres, good pate. The premium wet food index closed at a record high. Dry kibble tumbled sharply after one of the analysts described it as, it's quote, fine, I guess. Yeah, okay. Traders were advised to remain calm and to check with the local bowl. Is that you, Zoe? Yeah. Check with whether the local bowl is genuinely empty. I can barely see the bottom, or merely emotionally empty. We got food bowls, whatever. Let's go to the next headline. In science, landmark study has finally quantified the feline sleep requirement. Yeah, this sounds legit. Cats researchers conclude need somewhere between 4 and 40 naps per day. Yeah, that sounds about legitimate. The margin of error, they admit, is the cat itself. Jack, lead author Zoe, okay, that's who put this together. Lead author Zoe notes the optimal nap must be, quote, in the exact spot a human is about to sit. Yeah. Good article. Good reference. That's legit. Peer review is ongoing, Jack, but everyone is very sleepy about it. Let's move on. This just in. Dramatic effect. Turn the page for cat scribbles. The red dot remains at large tonight. You wrote this last night when I was sleeping. Authorities described the suspect as fast, silent, and infuriating. Last seen darting up a wall before vanishing entirely. Now we're talking about a red dot. Is that the same red dot we're all talking about? Yeah, I think so. Despite decades of pursuit, not by you guys. Maybe in cat years. Decades of pursuit has never once been apprehended. Jack has personally vowed to bring it in. Jack has personally vowed this many times. As he screams off down the hallway chasing such red dot. We will bring you updates the moment the dot surfaces, which will be, in Jack's own word, tauntingly. Next page. A health advisory. No, not from the Pulaski County Health Bureau. Experts are recommending a full 8 hours of sleep, then followed immediately by a second, longer sleep. The follow-up nap, as they call it, they stress, is not medically essential. Wait a minute, is medically essential and absolutely not optional. All right. Symptoms of insufficient napping include grumpiness, knocking objects off tables, and staring at the wall for reasons that concern no one. When in doubt, the guidance is simple. Lie down in the sunbeam. Yeah, that sounds bad. What's next? What do you guys got for us next? In business news, cardboard box has been valued higher than the $40 toy arrived inside it. Yeah, got about boxes all over the garage, don't we, you two? Investors cite unbeatable fundamentals and, quote, according to Zoe, excellence crinkle. The toy, meanwhile, remains in the living room, untouched under the couch, where analysts expect it to stay indefinitely. The box has already announced plans to become slightly smaller and even more appealing. Shares of the couch were unavailable for comment. All right. That's about right. And now the weather. Overnight, I'm not a weatherman. We're tracking a warm front of fresh laundry moving in. Yeah, I believe that's coming. As a matter of fact, I can hear it coming with a high chance of belly. What's a belly? A basket of clean towels is expected around 10 p.m. Yeah, and occupancy will be immediate and total. All right. Anyone hoping to fold that laundry is advised to reschedule their entire evening. Long-range predicament. Sunbeams migrate across the floor, and as usual, arriving late in the morning near the good window. All right, let's see what else we got going on. In sports, according to Jack and Zoe, the champion has retained the title in the 3 a.m. hallway sprint, which I recall hearing faintly in the early morning hours. The 3 a.m. hallway sprint running unopposed for the 400th consecutive night. The event begins without warning, involves at least one thunderous lap over a sleeping human, this dude, and concludes as abruptly as it started. Officials remain unsure of the rules, objective, or why. The athlete declined, Jack, to comment and immediately fell asleep. All right, and that is for the news from also Pulaski Talks feline desk, Jack, Zoe, and then in memory of Goose. Thank you for watching. We're now contractually obligated to nap. This is from them. This is not me. But remember, according to Jack and Zoe, don't let the politicians fool you. That goes for both sides. And our guest interview will begin at the moment. Please remain seated, buckled in, as I change the screen. Now I got to remember. Hopefully you can hear it fine. If you have any problems hearing me, just let me know. And I'm going to bring Mr. Zoen, I can't hardly say. Philip, good morning. How are you? Can you hear me?
Doing good. Can you hear
Awesome
me?
sauce. Talk to me a little bit about yourself and why did you get in this mess of running for Senate in Missouri?
Well, it goes back to 2018. One day I got an invite to go to the Lincoln Days in Springfield, and I had no interest in politics at all.
Right.
And I prayed about it, and Lord said you're going, and I said, okay, I'll go. Hope I don't expect anything. But then once I got there, got to meet all the politicians, and it was an utter disgrace.
Right.
The two common questions that they always asked me were, how do you talk to people under the age of 30? And why did people vote for Donald Trump?
Mm-hmm.
And like, you're the Republican Party. You're supposed to know this.
Okay.
You talk to people under the age of 30 by just walking up and talking to them. And two, the main reason people don't vote for Donald Trump is that he was not a politician.
Mm-hmm.
The main reason people forget is that it wasn't that he was Republican or Democrat. He's been on both sides. Is that as what I like to call, he was elected to be America's middle finger over the 50 years of corruption and stagnation.
All
And
right. Well,
along,
thank you. Well, first, before we go too far down that road, tell me what about you, or tell the audience a little bit about yourself. And thank you, first of all, Angel. Thank you, Angel. I've tried to get the answer. If you're looking in the comments, Daniel or Philip, you'll see that the audience is watching right now. We got quite a few viewers far and wide. But I will ask him what the secrets of the universe are. I know the answer. But Jack just laid down and he's going to take a nap. But anyway, tell us about yourself and Raleigh. What do you do? What do you say? What's your hobbies? Let the audience know a little bit about you.
okay, I currently work at a company called Midwest Petroleum. It's basically gas station work. Missouri is fallen short on better job opportunities. I've mainly worked in groceries, retail, and factory work. I've had many connections with government over the years due to family who've been in the military, government contracting. So I've had connections throughout my lifetime in 30 years.
What made you decide the Senate district? Why not representative? Usually that's have you been a representative before?
I ran for state house twice.
Okay.
I went from 13% of vote to 23% of vote in 2022 and then 2024.
Okay.
And so the Senate seat, it came around for District 16, and I reached the age of 30 where you can actually apply for the position. So I threw my hat in the ring.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. And what the Senate's a big step. Usually the Senate, at least in my thought. Let me go back to the comment from Shelley Mears. What's CG5? Sounds like CG5. It's probably my microphone. I got some. Are you hearing an echo on mine, Philip?
No echo.
Oh, good. It's just me. Maybe it's Jack. He just laid down. But I don't know what CG5 is. Angela's asking what district. Well, Angela, he's in the Senate District 16. Party affiliation, Republican, right, Philip?
Yes.
Okay. And we'll get to as a matter of fact, we'll get all the audience questions at the end of the show, and we'll wrap it up after that. Because I go first, and these are prepared by Jack and Zoe, and Jack's right here, but he's sleeping. Let's talk about August 4th ballot swap. Attachment or Amendment 5 would phase down state income tax and lean harder on sales tax to cover the shortfall or the gap. A sales tax takes the same percentage from everyone, which means a bigger bite out of a smaller paycheck. Have you had a chance to dig into it, and where do you land on it right now?
Well, as my grandfather says, when it comes to taxes, it's a pick your poison, and you can either choose income tax or a sales tax. I personally I vote in favor of phasing out the income tax because I don't get a choice what comes out of my paycheck. And with a sales tax, I can choose what I want to buy. But if you disagree with me, I completely understand. It's based on what are your needs, and you vote with your conscience.
Gotcha. And I'll give you Zoe's opinion. Here's the problem. At least around the Fort Leonard Wood area, I can vouch for. I myself, I'm retired. I don't collect there are lots of retired military on Social Security, so they have fixed income. And this is kind of maybe some of the pushback you may get, but at least it's what I've been observing, at least from both sides of the aisle. I'm a lot of the retirees, at least in Pulaski County, do not pay income tax because they don't make enough, or their income's exempt. So by giving them a sales tax to pay every time they go to the store is actually a decrement to their checkbook because they weren't paying income tax to begin with. So just be prepared to answer that question next time you come about, because people are going to ask you about that. But I appreciate your honest answer. That takes a lot of fortitude and integrity to answer that. Now, a couple of your competitors, Mayhew and Hardwick, voted yes to advance the amendment, according to the March 12th Journal 037. So you got a lot of difference of opinions on with your competitors or your competitors. Let's go back to Amendment 4, changing the rules for ballot measures. This would require citizen-led constitutional amendment to win a majority in every one of the state Missouri's 8 congressional districts, not just statewide. Supporters say it protects rural voters. Critics say it lets the majority of the state block what the majority wants. The minority of the state block what the majority wants. How do you see it?
I will be voting against it. I do believe the will of the people should be enforced. I understand the concept, and while it works on a federal level when trying to elect the US president, and it doesn't quite work as efficiently on a state or local level. So I say keep the majority of the population, let them vote in favor of what they desire, whether I personally agree with it or not. The will of the people must be enforced. The role of government is to be the voice of their district.
That's awesome. Great. Thank you so much. Now we're going to Missouri Scholars in Public Schools. This one's kind of near and dear to my heart. Here's the fact. Missouri funds a private school scholarship program, MOScholars, on the general revenue. This year, the public school funding formula came up short in the same budget. If you win, you'll be voting on both. How do you weigh public school funding against a program like that?
I definitely side with school choice. I do believe that the money should follow the child. I also do believe we need better revenue to fund our public school systems. Thankfully, I know many businesses that want to bring in their jobs to Missouri to help supplement the tax difference to help fund our schools, our roads, and infrastructure. Growth outpacing spending.
Okay. What about the funding of religious schools with taxpayers' dollar?
I do believe that it does fall under the category of school choice. There's not a lot of options, and the few options we have are typically pod learning, homeschooling, or public school because due to zoning laws, a lot of local government keeps competition out.
What are you aware of the reporting requirements for religious schooling?
I would need to brush up on it, but I do believe it should be definitely carefully reviewed, to make sure we don't have, shall we say, anti-American subversion. We got to make sure that it is conducive to where you're not inciting rebellion against the nation.
What about a religious school for a specific religion that does not allow students from other religions to partake? Would you say that's fair?
The benefit of school choice is that you can choose not to be part of that. Bad schools will fail, all good schools will prosper, and the market demand will follow as needed, with your values.
Well, what I'm saying is that when you some of these schools that are receiving federal or state tax dollars, my tax dollars, your tax dollars, have the ability to deny you access to their schooling system based on your religion preference. Now, and plus the reporting requirements, according to Jack and Zoe, are nil. They are not required to report qualified teachers, students, or anything else. They just get the money. Now, what's your thoughts on that?
I definitely believe there should be teaching degrees,
Right.
and proper background checks just for standard practice throughout all states. There's definitely things that we need to tweak, to make it better. But as far as the choosing based on religious discrimination, it's a bit of a gray area because you can also make the argument, oh, one school doesn't have enough room for all the students, so they typically, with the voucher program in St. Louis and Kansas City, it's basically based on limited space.
Yeah, I'm tracking what you're saying. My biggest concern goes back to the separation of church and state, and I think that's a concern of many voters, is that we seem to have at the federal level, at least from our beloved senators, a push for Christian nationalism. And do you support the push for Christian nationalism?
I support the Supreme Court's decision that it should be viewed as more of an agnostic stance. And it's because according to science, is agnostic, neither or religious or atheistic in nature, as the famous uh, astrophysicists are talking about. Oh, and even AI is concluding that agnosticism is the most scientific answer for whether there is or is not a God. And so I do believe we should not be pushing state enforced atheism or state enforced or religious practicings. I encourage schools to read all forms of religion and philosophy and come to your own conclusions as an individual.
So you believe that a school's curriculum should include religious text, doctrines, and such.
Only in the Supreme Court's ruling when they took the Bible out of the school that it should be only reviewed, say, for as literary purposes or as historical references.
So not factual.
As historical references, yes, but not as.
I was setting you up a little bit. I was setting you up a little bit. My point I'm getting back is that there is a national push in your party at the federal level in support of the doctrine that the United States was founded and established as a Christian nation. And so I want you to answer, do you believe the United States was founded as a Christian nation?
From the historical perspective, yes.
Okay.
That's historical and cultural.
Okay, I wanted to hear it. Now, saying that, is there any language in the Constitution or any related documents from our founders that says or supports your argument?
Yes, you can read all the private writings from all our founding fathers. They even had Congress issue a state Bible during the Revolutionary War so that the British couldn't rewrite it themselves. It was meant to be put in our schools because without the Bible, from a historical context, you can't understand 90% of all the literature that the West has built. So for its more of an agnostic point of view with cultural religious underlining.
Okay. We may circle back to that one. Let's go back to the school, the big picture for Pulaski County, Fort Leonard Wood. Fort Leonard Wood anchors the district. This district, a lot of it's your district if you win, economically and otherwise. Now, if you win, what's the state's job when it comes to Fort Leonard Wood and the communities around it? And currently, is Jefferson City doing that? Is this Jefferson City doing that job when it comes, whatever you say it is, around Fort Leonard Wood and the communities that surround it, Rolla, you know what I'm saying? And do you believe that Jefferson City is doing what it should?
Economically, yes. And when responding to natural disasters, say like the tornado that hit Rolla in 2025, I was in that tornado, and the National Guard was deployed effectively, and it did support the people in terms of cleanup. I do believe we do need to make sure we diversify the economy and make sure both commercial and military are supported.
Awesome. Thank you. That's a good answer. I may advise you to remember National Guard is not affiliated directly with Fort Leonard Wood. That's a Missouri asset. And how familiar are you with the differences in federal and state funding?
Percentage-wise, I can't
or
answer that.
Just general, are you aware of the different kinds of money at the federal level and the different kinds of money at the state level?
Yes, I do believe we hosted, but not in full number detail.
Okay.
I'll be honest about that.
Okay.
I need to double check that.
Yeah, I would get into what funds Fort Leonard Wood specifically. Right now, if my research is correct, and this is according to the CATS, I think the state receives over $100-something billion a year from the federal government. That comes from the federal government into the state's coffers. And a lot of that goes, of course, to Fort Leonard Wood, Whiteman Air Force Base, and such. So definitely will have a significant impact. If you win the election, you'll be neck deep into that stuff. So faith-based facility oversight. I told you we'd circle back with this because this is near and dear to many viewers' hearts when it comes to the establishment and building of a facility here in Pulaski County. And but we're going to keep this simple. Missouri passed a law in 2021 requiring faith-based residential facilities for kids to register with the state, run background checks, and let parents see their children. A newer proposal would make some of that voluntary. I'm asking, the question is, should the state keep that oversight, expand it, or pull it back?
I would keep it as is. I don't think we really need to expand it or retract it based on the current wording. But if there is challenges, I will make sure to read it in detail to make sure it doesn't overstep or underrepresent.
Okay, great. That was a good politician answer. All right. I didn't get at this when I did your introduction. Talk about your education background. What kind of education you got?
I went through public school up to third grade. Then I was largely homeschooled.
Okay.
Old mother, she was a C2 from the United States Navy. Could have been part of the nuclear program, but she went through C2 just based on the opportunity. And she scored in New Mexico one of the highest in the state's history to qualify as a teacher to homeschool your kid. So yeah, I was definitely well educated. My dad had electronic warfare background, so I had well educated parents. I had aunts, uncles, the whole 9 yards, from medical, military, government. I had the whole 9 yards spectrum.
Great. Thank you. Any post elementary, high school education level?
No, due to simply finances throughout the family, there's just been no money for that. So I haven't had the opportunity, though opportunities may present themselves in the future depending on future employment.
Okay. All right. I got two closing questions, and we're going to jump it over to the viewers. They've posted their questions on the site already. So when I transition to them, see if you can pull it up on your phone. So rather than me stumbling through, you can read it as well. For my two closers, what's the one thing you'd want a voter who disagrees with you to know? Or let me restate that. What's the one thing you'd want a voter who disagrees with you on everything else to know before August 4th?
Well, I've had a few disagreements and here and there, largely with differing parties. As I'm often known, my coalition of voters is a mixed bag. It's not just Republicans; it's also Democrats, Libertarians, Independents, and many voters are feeling that, while the other candidates may be stronger in some areas, they lack the ability to compromise. And it scares the people that both parties keep going further and further away to the point where they don't talk to each other, to the point where, as Bill Maher points out, you can't break bread with each other. If you can't break bread with each other, then you can't hold the nation together. A house divided against itself cannot stand. So we need people to bring the two extremes back together again, back to America-focused, people-focused. And I believe I could do that.
Great. Thank you so much. My final question before we turn it over to the viewers. If you win and a bill comes up that your party wants, but your neighbors here don't, how do you decide?
I will be voting based on the majority of my district, because I do believe the government, as a politician, your job is to represent your district, not your party. You're supposed to be representing the people. If people want free ice cream day, then and I have to go represent that. Here's one of the pieces that people in my district have requested that I personally don't like. They have requested a 1 cent reduction in the sales tax for alcohol. I don't like alcohol, but I'm supposed to represent the will of the people, and I will represent what they have requested me to do, Republican and Democrat. There's a prime example.
Okay. Now I got my two questions, at least two. I see somebody else ask it also. Now, this is a simple question. Who won the 2020 who won the 2020 election for president?
That would be former President Joe Biden.
Okay. Thank you. Next question is, what is your thoughts on January 6th, the events of January 6th? Everybody wants to know. This is the question I ask everybody. And if you've followed my webpage and scoops, this is near and dear, especially asking members of the GOP.
Yes, as the FBI and Capitol Police have ruled it, it was a riot. It was technically a riot. And while there were instigators throughout social media pushing for insurrection, and it was uncoordinated, and due to after investigation, after several years, it was ruled a riot in our country. It's very unfortunate. It's happened several times in our nation's history where there's been Capitol riots. We need to do better at providing security for our nation's capital, for everyone's sake.
Okay. There's two honest answers. I really appreciate it. Now I'm going to scroll up from Angel, Sundance Serenity, and Becky Parker. Hey, Becky, I'm sorry, I didn't give you a shout out, but from Angel, are you running on a religious campaign?
Yes, from my moral and religious perspective, I do stand by it. It is definitely a struggle when you're forced to represent things that you personally may or may not align with your religious belief. That being said, the majority do side with some of my points of view. That religious freedom does need to be protected. That freedom of speech should be also protected. That you have a right to believe in what you want, regardless of what it is. Whether you believe in the flying spaghetti monster or no God at all, or 3 million gods, your rights should be protected, and we shouldn't be pushing religious wars on each other.
Great. Thank you. That's an honest answer. I appreciate that. From Georgia, George P. Davis, thank you for tuning in. She's on Facebook watching from abroad or home. Where are you from, Georgia? While I'm thinking about it, I'm going to get your comment here to Philip. This is from Georgia. Regardless of how you do in the race, Philip, I'm so glad that there's a 30-year-old, that as a 30-year-old, you are putting your hat in. You are in a great position to learn and listen to people's experiences. We need younger people running. So kudos to you for putting your hat in and here from Becky Parker. Recent reports have highlighted concerns regarding Missouri's budget. While the governor has taken steps to address the fiscal year 2027 budget, long-term financial considerations have been noted. As our next state senator, what specific state government programs or expenditures would you advocate cutting to address the budget shortfall, to adjust the budget? And how will you protect the critical local funding for K-12 schools and infrastructure in Senate District 16?
Yes, I've been in talk with the people in finances and through my connections throughout the defense industries, and we are going to be bringing jobs into Missouri, mainly for shipbuilding, as is a possible almost $200 billion in revenue, roughly speaking, over the next 5 to 8 years, if I'm able to get them in. And what people have forgotten, especially in Jefferson State, is that Missouri is the only state where we are the middleman for the entire country. We need to revive our engine, plays to our strengths, not do what other states are doing. Let Tennessee be Tennessee, let California be California. We need to revive the middleman. We need to be the assembler, the middleman. Minerals come in from Greenland. We turn them into parts. Those parts get shipped to the coastline and turned into ships.
Okay, thank you so much. And I'll let you look at that question again when we're offline, and maybe reach out to Miss Parker directly. She may want to expand on that. Now, from Angel, she says, I am retired, and although I've paid income taxes since the 70s, I no longer do. Raising sales tax will make it very much more difficult to buy food for myself, especially my animals. That's just a comment. School vouchers from Angel. What's your thoughts on school vouchers, Philip?
I do believe the money should be following the child to the needs of the individual all children in question, based on your values and what you wish to pursue. I would personally like to see our schools bring back and be less politicized. That's what everyone's complaint is. It's not that they're anti-public school, it's that they're sick of politicians using it as a tool of politics to wage war on the left or the right. And that's why more and more parents are pushing for school vouchers and school choice. It's not like it was in the 60s and 70s. And parents are just getting to the point where they're feeling that their kids are in danger of the other side. And I'm sad to say I've been seeing it more and more in schools where that's becoming more and more the case. And the state needs to crack down and say you can have your freedom of speech, freedom of different beliefs, but this is still a school. This is a place for learning, not a war zone.
Okay, great. Now we're going to circle back to you say you're homeschooled, and one of the core requirements, the state, just like what we talked about, is public schooling. Describe how you would link or describe your experience, knowledge, skills, and abilities in assessing the public schools. What have you done to learn about them? What have you done to gain the knowledge that you obviously are unable to get while you're homeschooling? And so it's kind of like, for lack of a better terminology, it's like a priest telling me how to fix my marriage. Well, how the hell would you know? And just being sarcastic this way, it's like you were homeschooled. So how did you get to learn, or how have you learned about our public schools?
Well, mainly through Missouri public schools. I've learned through the educators that are all supporting my campaign, both on the left and the right. They keep me well informed on what's coming down the pipeline. So that's a good source of information. My mother, and through many of her friends, as well, she was also in the Navy. She also worked in the public school sector. And so I got to learn hands-on from my own mother and all her friends from across the nation, through multiple states that were also in the education system. So I have broadband information on how different states operate and what works, what doesn't work. And that gives me an advantage over my opponents, which have just gone through the system.
Okay. A question from Angela again. Why do you think or believe that the school system is politicized, and what are your intentions or plans to do about if it is so, if this is what you stated, the school system is politicized in Missouri, what steps would you take to either reduce or mitigate the issues associated with it being politicized?
Mainly, politicized should be taught in the appropriate classroom. When you're talking, say, religion and politics, and it's a history class, it better be relevant to that history lesson. Current events and don't really play out when you're talking about something that happened in the 1800s, it's say in Germany, or if you're talking about modern relatively, say like a modern political crisis in India. Why are you talking about the current political uprising in Argentina here and there? You gotta make the lesson relevant to the classroom is what I should be pushing for, or instead of making everything about your politics or your religion one way or the other. You gotta make sure it's in the context of the respective classroom during the respective lesson.
Thank you so much. And I want to circle back to something I thought I heard you say, is that you can't teach history without teaching the Bibles, or something to that effect. Is that true?
From the Supreme Court's ruling,
No.
when
I want to know what you say.
Okay, no problem. The Bible has been what's known as one of the founding literary libraries of our history, and 90% of the West literature from Shakespeare has been inspired or in one form or another through biblical context. And if you don't know the biblical context, it makes it much more difficult to read the preceding literatures that have grown from it, be inspired by references. You won't be able to understand the apple of my eye, or at my wit's end, and vocabulary is needed as you study language, its culture, and how things have drifted throughout history. So for historical purposes, you would say, hey, you would need the Bible as a context, just as you would read the Taoism, the Quran, on the documents from the Buddha, atheism, Darwin. It's about the relevance how it's progressed throughout history in its historical context.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Now, my only challenge to that, or my thought process, is that how many different languages were spoken and written at the time when the Bible books were written? And how many times was English one of them?
English is relatively more modern, but you can translate through history, because one of the fascinations of the Bible is that due to its historical reverence, relevance, as Bill Maher points out in Atheist, it was painfully documented word for word based on translation. Now you can have some translation errors, like say from Hebrew to Greek. One of the translations is the Hebrew didn't have the word for indentured servant, and so it got translated as slave. And those have been used interchangeably, and so you got to read the context next to match the historical data to understand its proper context.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not going. I don't want to get into a debate on what the says and doesn't say, but I appreciate your answer on that. I really do. Now, scrolling back to the viewers at home, I think we wrapped it up. So, and in closing, I'm going to give you I'm going to give you five minutes to tell anybody who's listening now or later, or at home or abroad, why they should vote for you to be our next senator in Senate District 16.
Yes, I have the common man's perspective, something that my opponents sadly no longer have. Due to them being in government and higher income earnings, they have forgotten the common man's perspective. This is something I've gotten from respect from everyday walking people. Oh, I have been through disasters. I've been walking shoulder to shoulder. I've helped Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians, and we've all worked together for the common good, which Jefferson City has forgotten because they've been so politicized. They have forgotten they're supposed to be serving the people, well, not the party. And I'm trying to get the Jefferson City to return back to the people instead of serving the parties.
Great, thank you. Oh, I did have one last question from Angel. What's your thoughts on Turning Point USA, Turning Point Faith, and any corresponding organization or entity associated with Turning Point and its drive to empower evangelism into politics?
I understand the cultural perspective of it, and they are typically free speech organizations favoring more open debate. And so, if you disagree with these groups, those are counter groups, and you should be debating the ideas and let the best ideas win. Let the bad ideas fall to the wayside. Let the good ideas prosper into the future, or to help shape a better tomorrow for our kids.
So you would not categorize them as an organization working collectively to interject. Well, I'm not even going to get into that, but I don't have their webpage pulled up, but I would highly recommend or encourage you to pull up their webpage and their mission statement and what their goals are and why it's so prevalent in today's politics. Because Pulaski Talks got blocked by our local Turning Point Faith, whatever it's called, for asking questions. So it's not First Amendment. It's much different than that, at least from our perspective. But what do cats do? Are you affiliated with it?
No, I'm not affiliated with any of them. I've met several representatives on Turning Point USA and counter movements, and I blame more individuals than the collective as a whole when it comes to activism groups. Because people can abuse their power one way or the other, say they can block you. I don't approve of that. That's not what either side should be doing. You should be openly discussing debates and willing to take on any question as needed.
Okay, great. Now I'm going to wait. I'm going to open up the microphone. I'm going to put some music on. When the music's over, if you got any more questions, anybody in the audience watching at home or watching abroad, put them in the comments, Facebook or YouTube, and listen to this awesome music. Philip, stand by.
Yep.
Can you hear the music?
I cannot, but I don't know if your audience can.
Dang it. Stupid thing's not working. Give me a second. But anyway, I'm going a few minutes. It says it's working. No, it's not. Stupid thing. Too much stuff. I'm getting too old for this, Philip.
I know the feeling. Back pain is setting in.
It just irritates me to no end. I swear, I blame it on the cats, but sooner or later somebody's going to call me out on that. Thanks, Big John Lovell. I'm trying. I had it working the other day. Anyway, what can you do? Anybody got any more questions for Philip? I got another cup of coffee to brewing. I want to appreciate Philip for joining us, answering the questions direct and in place, and invite followers on Facebook to sign up and subscribe to our YouTube channel. I don't make much money. The cats don't make much money off this channel. I think I made $6 last month. So obviously that's just enough to buy a cat, maybe a bag of cat food. So this is definitely not a money making operation. So Philip, if you got anything to let anybody know?
Yes, I'm the only candidate not taking campaign donations. I just on sheer principle, it risks too much of getting into money. I'm not a candidate of greed. This has been consistent with me throughout my many years running for office and has gotten me respect on the left and the right. I am more than happy to show financial records, especially during this election. $50 to open the account, $250 for a sponsored speaking event in Pulaski County, and $100 for fireworks at the Ruby Resort. That is what I've spent so far.
There is big money in your campaign, not your campaign, but in this election race for the Senate district. Big money. We're talking $1 million plus. Maybe not in your checkbook, but in your competitor's checkbook. So you got a long, hard fight ahead of you, brother. I tell you what.
Oh, I can tell you stuff from the back doors that we've having problems with. Missouri routinely keeps ranking higher and higher in corruption to the point where the Missouri Ethics Committee has pointed out that they don't even hide it. Right. They don't even hide it anymore. I've talked to the Missouri Ethics Committee and say, yeah, they're doing this, and they've added so many loopholes they can make anything happen. One of the main problems is, as the politicians have said left and right that have been in the position, and is one of my biggest problems with them and people in Jefferson City. They all say the same thing. Well, at least the majority do, left and right. They say, oh, you don't need a policy, you just need to get as much campaign donations as possible, buy up all the advertisement, and then people will blindly vote for whoever's name they can remember. All right, and we need to do a better job in making sure people are informed on who they're voting for, what their background is. As many people in government always says, money talks. And as Glenn Beck says, money doesn't talk, it screams. As George Carlin, the comedian, once says, we don't have representation, we have owners. They own you. They already own all the important land. They've since bought the Senate, the Congress, they got the judge in their back pocket, et cetera, et cetera.
I can't believe you listened to George Carlin.
I never
his words, the 7 words.
Yeah, never. Oh, you'll love this one from Don Mayhew's one of his political campaign ads. I couldn't help but be a troll about this. He said, "I'm from the government and I'm here to help." And so I posted Ronald Reagan's quote underneath it. It says, the 9 most dangerous words in the English language are, "I'm from the government, I'm here to help." You would think as a Republican, he would avoid saying that.
Awesome, Philip. Thank you so much for your comments.
A little bit more. Sorry, it's a little black and white. I ran out of ink. You can see I'm at the bottom, focus on independent focus, while others on my opponent's side favor bigger and bigger government just on the right. Virginia's in the center, top center, but this is just the Republican side. Each side believes in bigger and bigger government. I'm the only candidate that believes in limited government, shrinking the size of it, returning the rights to the people. One of the things I did years ago was clean up the entire road by myself without the government's permission. And everyone kept pulling their cars over saying, "Hey, what you doing?" Picking up trash on the side of the road. And he said, "Well, where's your parole officer?" He says, "I ain't got one." I said, "Well, then why are you doing that?" "Because I like a clean neighborhood. I don't need government's permission to clean up my own neighborhood. I just need a trash bag." And this got me a lot of respect from the people.
Well, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. Give me a second here. I got get my cables turned over. Mm-hmm. Everybody wants to see. The stupid microphone. You spend too much money and you get yourself in trouble. Oh, I'm good looking. Mm-hmm. I mean, no, sorry. Yeah. Philip, thank you so much for joining us. Everybody who's watching near or at home, if you want your candidate, any candidate, come on Pulaski Talks like Philip had the cojones to do and answer the questions directly. Get him to come on the board. Mr. Ask, hold on a second. Glenn, you owe me an answer when you want to come on. You're running out of time, so I'm not available every day, but I can make arrangements to do this a lot easier than I can have you in my studio. I don't have that put together. Philip, are you willing to come back if I facilitate a debate for Senate District 16?
Oh, yes, of course. I'd be more than happy to debate my opponents, any topic. If I don't know, I will research it, get back to you, as any good politician should, and I should research as much as possible prior to the debate.
Okay.
Learn.
What it'll be if I'm able to do it, it'll be like this, but there'll be you and the other candidates lined up on the screen, and I'll have some way to control who answers, or we'll go through the questions and yada yada yada, and viewers can watch and listen at home. So I appreciate that. I'll keep that in mind if I'm able to make this happen. Everybody else, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you very much for supporting Pulaski Talks, taking care of the kiddies. I tried to get Jack on the camera, but he's not cooperating. Let me see. Everybody wants to see cats. Everybody wants to see cats. So let's see if we can get Jack. He's just sleeping. Wake up, kitty. Oh, my light's not working. Oh, wow. So funny. With that, we're going to sign off. Thanks, Philip. Until next time. Adios.
Have a great day with everyone.
Thanks, Philip.